When Lena Whitaker, a 31-year-old travel photographer, received the invitation, it felt like destiny. A handwritten letter on thick parchment arrived at her studio in Chicago. You have been chosen to document Stillness House. 1 weekend only. All expenses paid. Come alone. Bring only what you trust. Time waits for no one. Sincerely, H.G. Lena had never heard of Stillness House. But something about the letter gripped her. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe the paycheck. Maybe this strange pull she couldn't explain. The mansion was deep in northern Maine, off-road unmapped, and buried in forest like a secret whispered to the earth. She arrived on a foggy afternoon. Stillness. House rose from the trees like a forgotten castle, 3 stories of stone and shadow, wrapped in thick vines and time-worn silence. An iron gate stood open, and no one greeted her. She stepped inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, the air changed, heavier, thicker, as if she had walked underwater. The front hall was magnificent, frozen in time. Portraits of nameless aristocrats lined the walls. A fireplace stood unlit, yet she swore she smelled burning cedar. And in the center of the hall stood a grand antique clock. Hands stopped at 3:33. She wound it. Nothing. The clock refused to move. That's when she noticed her watch had stopped to dot, and her phone. Black screen. Dead. Lena explored the halls, taking photos. Every room was pristine, yet unlived. Time hadn't just stopped here, it had refused to pass. There was no dust, no rot, no insects. Even the fruit on a silver tray in the dining room looked freshly picked. She began to feel lightheaded, disoriented. Hours seemed to pass. Or was it minutes? The sun never changed in the sky outside the dusty windows. And her own reflection in the mirror was beginning to look a little older. By nightfall she realized something terrifying. She was hungry, but the food in the kitchen wouldn't rot. She poured herself a glass of wine, and the moment she blinked it was full again. The clock still read 3:33. Her voice echoed back to her in every room, but always a half-second late, as though something else was saying it just after she did. And the portraits, they had started to change. One now looked like her. In the library, she found a journal tucked beneath a loose floorboard. Time does not move here, it feeds. I stayed 3 days. My hair turned white. Do not sleep, do not eat, do not stay past the 3rd sunset. It will forget you ever left. Signed only J. Wainwright, -1876. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She just listened to the ticking that wasn't coming from the clock, but from inside the walls. Lena sat in the library chair, wrapped in her coat, shivering not from cold, but from something far worse. Stillness, not silence, not peace, but a living stillness. Something that watched her, breathed, and waited for her to stop. She tried to leave. The front door no longer opened. The windows wouldn't shatter. Every hallway led back to the clockroom. The hands still stuck at 3:33, and every time she passed a mirror, her reflection looked older, her skin a little looser, eyes a little duller. I've been here less than a day, but her hair had begun turning gray. She found another journal in a hidden drawer of the writing desk. This one was newer. I thought the house was just cursed, but it's more than that. It's alive. It remembers everything that ever walked inside it, and it hates forgetting. It feeds on your time, bit by bit, until you forget who you were. It doesn't kill you, it erases you. Lena's fingers trembled. She could barely remember her mother's voice, couldn't recall her apartment's address, couldn't even remember the day she arrived. Was it yesterday or last week? She returned to the grand clock, staring at those unmoving hands. 3:33. I need to move the time, she whispered. Make time move again. She grabbed the antique poker from the fireplace and smashed the clock's glass. The house screamed, not with sound, but with pressure. Walls groaned. The ceiling moaned and all the portraits blurred, faces melting like wax. Lena forced the clock, hands forward. 3:34. For the first time, the second hand twitched. The house shuddered. Doors flew open. Cold wind burst through the windows. Something was furious. Something had been sleeping, and now it was awake. She ran. The halls were no longer elegant. They rotted before her eyes. Wallpaper curled like dried skin. Furniture cracked. The fruit turned black. And behind her something followed, slow but steady. Like the house itself was collapsing. Chasing her, she reached the front door again. This time, it opened. She threw herself into the woods beyond, gasping as she hit dirt and wet leaves. Behind her, Stillness House creaked, then fell silent. No collapse, no noise, just gone. Lena woke up in a hospital 2 days later. A hiker had found her unconscious on an abandoned trail where no mansion had stood for over 50 years. The police found her camera, its memory card filled with blank photos. No mansion, no library, no portraits. Just Lena, looking older in each frame. Years passed. She never spoke of Stillness House again, but she never stayed anywhere more than a single night, and every clock in her home, it never stopped at 3:33.